Dr. Joseph Mercola is our guest. We've had more than 20 contests. One contest was for $100,000 and was hugely successful. This one, because our budget's a little tighter, is $7,500, $5,000 first place, $1,000 second place, $500 third place. I always bite off more than I can chew. Every time we've had a contest, I announce the date that I'm going to be announcing the winner. I always push it back a week. One time we had something like 600 good entries, and I had the pleasure of getting to watch them all. And then we wanted to promote them, tweet them, put them on Facebook, put them on Infowars.com. We got over 100 good ones this time, only with a 2-week notice. Other contests have gone for 2-3 months before. That's when we get 600, 700 entries. 500, 600 of them being really good. This is the Obola, tying Obama's non-response to Ebola to the tyranny of socialism and collectivism. Hashtag tyranny is the disease. Help expose it. Today was the day I was supposed to announce the winners. We've still got more contest entries to post this weekend and next week. I still have not seen all the entries. I've seen about 60 or 70 of them. I've got to go watch 30 or 40 more I haven't looked at. I've got to go back and look at the top 10 again. So I'm going to spend a couple hours this weekend, a couple hours next week, trying to judge the winner. I get feedback from the crew that's been watching them. But all of you are winners because you're exposing the tyranny. You're out there being political activists. That's what it's all about. Look, one movie, Super Size Me, helped trigger a revolution that was already under the surface to revolutionize and really turn the tide against the poison, the additives, the plasticizers, the GMOs, the chemicals in the food. And we still aren't winning, but we're coming from behind and are set to start winning. People expose aspartame as bad. They just change the name and put it in almost every gum and candy out there, including sugared. I tell people, you know, your sugar gum has aspartame. No, it doesn't. It's sugar gum. I go, friends, family, you name it. Go, wow, you're right. That stuff makes you go blind. Pro-toothpaste hashtag hijacked by anti-fluoride activists. We launched this. InfoWars put out a call to hijack hashtag Sweet Halloween to inform parents about the dangers of fluoridated toothpaste. This was put out by Crest Corporation, or I guess Procter & Gamble, or whoever owns Crest. I think it's Procter & Gamble. I'm going from memory. And we're just exposing the Harvard studies, the hundreds of other, it's actually thousands, but I say hundreds because it sounds unbelievable. Nothing's been studied like fluoride and lead and mercury and things like that. I mean, just been studied for hundreds of years. They know what fluoride does. And so we've hijacked it. It's been taken over. One of the contest entries on Obama got picked up by newspapers around the country, and one of them that picked it up was Egan News. Man in Obama mask and hazmat suit hangs Obola posters across Chicago. And here it is in the major newspaper, drudgereport.com, picked up the video, and now it's gone viral. See, that's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. So everybody's a winner. I don't know who's going to be the 3 winners. We'll let you know very soon. And please don't forget, if you need cutting-edge vitamins, minerals, supplements, there's a lot of great places out there. Mercola.com, great products, and just sensible, real reviews. We try to be at that very same high standard and just go with the facts. InfoWarsLife.com, the Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine, the Super Mel Vitality, the Oxy Powder from Global Healing Center that just, well, you've heard the rave reviews. We can't keep it on the shelves, and it's about to sell out because it's word of mouth. I only want to bring out supplement products that blow people away. Now, I want to get into fluoride briefly with Dr. Mercola and then some phone calls, but I want to give him the floor to talk about whatever's front and center. But you were getting into diabetes going epidemic, up in some statistics in Hispanics up 3,000%. They're saying that they're set to have 60, 70% of Hispanics by 2025. They're talking about half the public perhaps having type 2 diabetes. Suddenly type 1 that's supposedly genetic is popping up in people later in life. You're a big expert on this, Dr. Mercola. You were getting into it. They never ask, why is diabetes up? They always say, what's the cure? Well, wouldn't the cure be not doing what's causing it to go epidemic? So A, what's making it go epidemic, or pandemic, I think is the word. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then B, what are the secrets to it? I mean, how can people stop from getting it, and what's been shown to be promising?
Well, Alex, it's not just diabetes. It's obesity. It's cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's. These are all have at their central core insulin resistance. So the most effective way I've ever found clinically to address it is the timing of your food. The quality and the type of food you eat is important too, but the timing is massively important. Let's start with breakfast. We all know that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? Wrong. It's a myth. Who created it? The cereal companies. More important than any single meal is how many hours you eat in any single day. Because not only do we eat the wrong food, but for many of us, the only time we don't eat is when we sleep. And if you think about it, our ancestors, they never had access to a grocery store 24/7. Many of our ancestors were lucky if they ate 3 times a week. Most of us eat 3 times a day and snacks in between. So our genes and metabolism are optimized for more sporadic, intermittent meals. Basically feast or famine.
I saw some of those studies interrupt you. That's why they think Mesoamericans, who are really land bridge Asians that came over, are getting hit so hard because they really survived on almost nothing and were super tough and hardy. But you give somebody with those genetics a ton of food, I mean, boy, they're going to be deader than a hammer really quick.
Yeah, so that is the key. See, we're basically, most of us are feasting 24/7, and we just don't go into the fast mode. And the fast mode doesn't have to be for long periods of time, but if we do it regularly, there's a number of ways to accomplish this. And the most effective way that I found is, and you only need to do this as long as the insulin resistance persists. And how do you know? You either take a fasting blood insulin level, your weight normalizes, you don't have diabetes, or you're not taking a statin drug. So if those things disappear, you don't have to do this. But until those things disappear, do the 3-8-3. Stop eating at least 3 hours before you go to bed, sleep 8 hours, and start eating at least 3 hours later than you do now. And then when that happens, magic occurs. You'll be less hungry, you lose your cravings.
That's now happened.
It's just the most amazing thing. It's just absolutely
incredible. I did a juice cleanse about 4 months ago, and that and pure iodine and eating healthier, all of a sudden, I'm not even doing what I was doing before, and the weight is just coming off exponentially.
Yeah, it's just massively important. So it's just the timing. If you restrict your eating window to 6 to 8 hours a day until the insulin resistance disappears, it's amazing. You know, you mentioned our viewers that we actually have 10 million unique visitors to our site a month. And one of our visitors had mentioned that she had tried this for about a month, and she used a 6-hour eating window, and the first day her cravings disappeared. What she couldn't believe it, and what was most impressive is that they only had that similar result previously using amphetamines. That's how profoundly effective the appetite suppressant effect is. And you're not buying anything. You're just using the timing of your eating to replicate, to basically jumpstart your ability to start burning fat.
Well, that's the old Hollywood secret that I've been told by so many people there, models, you name it, famous actors. They've all told me, Alex, the key, because back then I was fat, I mean, not super fat, but overweight. They say, man, you'll lose that weight. Don't ever eat after the sun goes down. And that's just well known by models, you name it. Never eat after the sun goes down.
Yeah. That's a good strategy. So, and if you do that and you get your insulin resistance under control, then you don't have to worry about infections because you'll improve your insulin resistance, but you also improve your gut microbiome. And interestingly, you know, you talked about the artificial sweeteners like aspartame, which I think we're making major progress on. But there's scientists that figured out, they published a study last month in Nature. We figured out how one of the major mechanisms how aspartame actually causes you to gain weight.
Well, I remember you being on my show like 15 years ago, and a medical doctor as well, Dr. Blaylock, saying, we have evidence that aspartame, stuff in Diet Coke, makes you fat. Now suddenly CBS News headline, diet sodas make you fat. Go ahead, tell us about that.
Well, the mechanism, the reason how it makes you fat, we didn't know until like a few months ago, is that it alters your microbiome, your gut microbiome for the worse. You get the wrong bacteria growing there, which causes you to gain weight. So it's all about improving your gut flora and decreasing the insulin resistance. You get those 1-2 punches and there's almost no disease that you can't turn around. It's so profoundly effective. Now, clearly you need a health coach to fine tune some of the more complex diseases, but you know, if you got to get the basics down. You know, I'm a big fan of the Bulls when they had Michael Jordan, and he was a great superstar, but you know, one of the reasons they were so good is because of their coach, who basically grill them on the basics. And if you don't do the foundations, any fancy supplement in the world is not going to help you. You've got to get the foundations right. You know, staying away from sugar, of artificial sweeteners, chlorinated water, getting enough sleep. You know, it's mundane, but it really does work. It's very powerful. And getting the insulin resistance resolved by something like intermittent fasting.
So they basically found the way to shut off the fat gene.
Well, it's not the fat gene. What happens is when we eat all these excess carbohydrates and we're eating regularly, we're not fasting, then that builds up enzymes that basically suppress our body's ability to produce something like lipase, which helps burn our fat. So we don't.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying it's in the genetics that we're not designed to do this. So you turn off the fat gene, even though it's not really a fat gene, by getting in line with your genes.
Right. Yeah. It's
well, let me ask you this then: what would you call this then? This huge scientific discovery?
Well, the general term is called intermittent fasting in the literature. I call it effortless eating because it truly is effortless, Alice. I've never seen anything so magical. Once you get that insulin resistance resolved, the hunger cravings disappear. The only time you're hungry is when you need to eat. You don't have these cravings for sugar or junk food. They disappear.